listening to the ProgAxia podcast.
Well, just name the band. Name the band, see if I can guess. Go on.
Name the band. You're going to know what album it is if I name the band. It's Rush.
Yes. They've got a few. My number 9's a Rush album as well. This could be spooky. I've got that slightly higher up the list for me.
Right. Well, see, what I did, I thought when we do these, that if I don't really want two albums of the same band in, so we've had slightly different. So we just should have done a rule sheet or something like this. But now this is my number 9, which was Exit Stage Left by Rush. Very difficult to put it in number 9 because, as I say, any other day I could have put it in number 6 or number 5. You know, this album for me, when it came out, was my Rush. This is the Rush that I went to see on a regular basis. The tracks on this, you know, My Way Z, The Trees, Xanadu, you know, this was my Rush. La Villa Strangiato. This was the band that I used to go and watch. And again, this is such a memorable album. I remember buying it back in the day, just thinking to myself, this is just the best live album I've ever heard, if I never hear anything else again. But it was sort of after Moving Pictures album. And Moving Pictures isn't my favourite of the sort of the progressive rock era of Rush. It's a great album. I love Moving Pictures, but out of all of them, you know, I prefer sort of Permanent Waves and Hemispheres and Farewell to Kings and things like that. But this was like the culmination of their progressive rock era, I guess. Because the stuff that came after this left me a little colder. There was still really good, some great Rush albums after this, but that era of albums, I think, culminating in this album, this live album, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, the bass is really loud in this, which I really like as well. But this was the album that sort of encapsulated that era of Rush that I lived and breathed in, which is why I had to have it in my top 10. It is just absolutely essential.
I had to have it in my top 5. It came in at number 4 for me because
okay, cool. Really good.
I was going to see them. I was enjoying it. And because Rush had that thing, didn't they, where they'd release sort of 4 studio albums and then a live album. So
yes.
All the World's a Stage came out after 2112. So yeah, they did that run of Farewell to Kings, which is probably my favorite, Hemispheres, Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures, and then they released this. And yeah, that was my, as you said, it was my Rush, you know, in every sense. And yeah, the bass, I think, sometimes drowns out a bit of Alex Lifeson's guitar work. The bass is quite up in the mix. But it doesn't matter, you know, because
that's live. You know, the mix isn't going to be perfect live.
Yeah,
it's the atmosphere that is so electric. You know, this for me was just, you know, you put it on and it takes you back to when you went and see them at Hammersmith Odeon. You know,
yeah, absolutely. And it starts with Spirit of Radio, doesn't it? And it's good. Definitely up there for me. And one of the things about Rush, of course, was they had this rule, didn't they, in the studio of we're only going to lay down stuff on our studio albums which we believe we can recreate live, the 3 of us. So yeah, that meant Geddy had to learn how to do stuff with his feet and his fingers and his voice all at the same time.
And it was so impressive as well. I mean, I can remember going and watching it and just thinking to myself, these are just some of the most amazing musicians. And mainly because the you know what they actually played, and being a musician myself, I know I'm a drummer, but I do play guitar and I do play bass and I do play keyboards. You know, I mean, most musicians now do a few things, but I can just remember just sort of thinking to myself, it's a 3-piece, and the thing that I'm listening to is astounding for live. You know, just have these different sounds, you know, the way Neil Peart used to have things like Tubular Bells and Glockenspiels and use them. You know, it wasn't just like for show. He had this fantastic, huge drum kit, but he used everything. I mean, just absolutely everything.
The Professor.
So, yeah, that was my number 9. So what's your number 9?
Well, it's a different Rush live album, so you have to get one
I think I know what you're talking about.
One guess. What do you think it might be? You might be surprised.
Oh, I thought it was going to be this one.
No, it's this one.
Yeah.
So so different stages. And the thing about this for me is because it's back to what we were just saying. So there's a bit of a duplication here because it's also got the 78 Hammersmith Odeon concert that I was at. So I was there. There's me in the audience going bonkers, and you can almost hear me playing air drums if you listen very carefully. I was there on that tour as I was in all of them back in that day. But the rest, so that's a great gig for that reason. But you look at the set list from it's a 77 Test for Echo largely tour, and it's got it all. It's got all you want, Xanadu not on the first 2 CDs, but you got it on the third one, the 78 gig. 2112, they do a great version of it.
Actually, the version on this album of 2112 is really, really good. It is really, really good.
The mix is fantastic. License does a really good job, and Discovery as part of 2112 does great. So you got some of the newer stuff, which, like you, I'm less keen on, but they do it really well. So for me, they're picking the best bits of those sort of like second or third era, whatever we want to call it, sort of Rush stuff. But they've got the old classics there as well. They've got the Trees, they've got Close to the Heart. Well, don't they always? As well as, and again, one of Neil Peart's amazing drum solos. One of the few people that really does make it interesting, one of the few drummers, apart from yourself, obviously, where people don't just go to the bar. They
go to the bar when I start doing. I really don't do solos. I get really bored in drum solos, even though I'm a drummer.
So for that reason, and it's not the greatest artwork in the world. It's got something that looks like some macaroons or something on the front of it, but there's 3 of them because there always wasn't there? That was the thing with the Rush artwork around this time onwards. 3 things, because there were 3 of them in the group, making a noise of 6 people. The engineer on this, Paul Norfield, I actually had the honour of listening to in a little sort of like webinar thing recently, and he was telling the stories about how he's recording some of the albums and some of the tricks they would get up to, and it's fascinating, when people got that level of detail and that knowledge, and they were there in the room with these 3 maestri. So there you go. That's my other Rush live album, number 9.
I think the side that I used to play on that CD, because I've got that CD here, I haven't got it in here. But side 3 had things like Biter on a Snow Dog on it, and Xanadu and Farewell to Kings, and Cygnus X1, and the Working Man, Fly by Night, and Cinderella Man, and all that sort of thing.
That's it.
That was, again, it was because that was my time of Rush. I thought disc 3 was just the one I played in the car a lot. So fantastic choice again. Fantastic choice. Thanks for joining us on the ProgAxia podcast. Don't forget to like this video and also to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us. We'll see you next time.